I'm Rob Abasolo. You might remember me from such videos such as the harsh reality of prefab houses and why I'll never buy one again. There's something on my leg. Oh! I got it though. Did we get the shot? We got it. A couple years ago, I made a video where I didn't talk so positively about prefab homes, and let's just say that the responses were rather favorable. All right, honestly, that one kind of hurt. It's like, be nice to people on the internet. And we've seen a lot of unique spaces and tiny homes on the channel before, but we've never really seen anything quite like this. This right here is a prefab tiny house, and the interesting thing about this guy right here is that they start at $35,000. Now, with that said, the one that we're actually gonna be touring today is $90,000, and I'm really excited to hop into this one because believe me when I say, I have never seen anything like this tiny house. Now you're gonna wanna stick around until the end of today's video because not only are we touring this tiny house, but we are touring a mega luxury premium tiny house right down the road here. But before we hop into this guy, why don't we hop into some B-roll? Huh? Start it up. All right, so let's set the stage on this particular house. This is a 120 square foot tiny home, and it's manufactured by a company called House. In this particular unit within their production lineup, it's called the Micro House. Let's go inside and check it out, but before you do, give me with a little like and subscribe. Come on, it's been a while. It's been a while since you've done that. Well, yeah, hop on in. That's okay. All right, that'll do. A couple of things stand out to me walking inside of this for the first time. And by the first time, I mean probably like the 12th time. They do a lot of really interesting things that make it feel really big out the gate. One thing is you're gonna see this mirror right here. And it's always nice to have a bunch of mirrors in a place. It definitely makes it look a lot bigger. And just that being in the entranceway across from what's kind of a little bit more of a compact section of this tiny house does make a big difference. And out the gate, there's a bunch of really cool stuff here, all right? We've got a small compact sink here. We've got a microwave. We've got a mini split that honestly, is probably a little oversized for such a small unit. This thing has to be an icebox when this is on. Nespresso, and then obviously it's a tiny house, meaning tons of storage. So check it out. Storage one right here, trash can, little refrigerator guy right here. Adorable little, this is commensurate with the size of the house. We've got storage for all of our kitchenware right here. Wine glasses, plates, and my favorite, a snack drawer. Open M&Ms. Where do these come from? Why are these open? Come on, what did I pay cleaning fee? That definitely wasn't me. A little embarrassing, I'll be honest. First mistake though, I mean, obviously, I like M&Ms. I'd say the biggest flaw with this whole tiny house, no Nerds clusters. What the heck? No Nerds clusters. Come on, it's like the best candy ever, right? It's fine, I'll eat all of it still, but you know, Nerds clusters. Oh, look at this, a little cutting board. I didn't even see this. This is really nice though. It honestly feels super sturdy. There's a lot of hardware that connects all of this. You can tell it's very premium. One of the things that the people at House told me is that they actually hire a touch engineer, and that touch engineer ensures that every surface has a particular feeling that, I don't know, I guess it just feels nice and premium. Walking around this, sitting in everything, laying in everything, using everything. This is definitely a premium tiny house. And honestly, at $90,000, it probably should be. Interestingly, the thing that makes this a little bit closer to that $90,000 range is obviously a lot of the custom features in this. One of the things that they told me though is that if you wanted that $35,000 price point, you're gonna have more affordable finish out, so they're not gonna feel quite as premium as this. And of course, there's a lot of mechanicals that can drive up the cost. Specifically, the kitchen, there's a lot of plumbing in there, a lot of water lines and everything. So that $35,000 base model, probably not gonna include something like that kitchenette. But of course, I think for $35,000, you kind of understand that you're getting a more simple product than the one that you see here. But it comes with all of the furniture, everything. So you don't have to buy a table, you don't have to buy chairs, you don't have to buy a bed. Literally everything from the construction to the final finish outs to the final furniture is all supplied within the price point that you pay. And I honestly think that's really nice because in most tiny houses, the hardest thing about furnishing them, take it as a tiny house owner, is finding furniture that actually fits inside of the tiny house in a conducive way. There's so much stuff that I've put into my tiny houses over the years that never really fit quite right. They were too big for the space most of the time, and it really kind of takes away from the overall aesthetic of the tiny house. So the fact that every little thing in this tiny house is custom engineered for this space really goes a long way. Speaking to the actual ingenuity of this place and all of the custom furniture, this is a Murphy bed right here. You may not have noticed that initially. Check out how easy it is to actually assemble this. Most Murphy beds, there's always some random thing. I've dealt with them here and there. They're always janky, creaky, kind of broken, somewhat of a liability. Check out how easy this is to do. Okay, you unlock that, you unlock this guy. It's user error, okay? It's all right, you unlock this guy. All right, I'm gonna give you a peek behind the curtain. I said user error. I had a tougher time opening this than I should have, but it is easy. You saw how easy that one was, right? Believe me. Unlock this guy, and then you pull this down. Really nice size bed here. Look, it's not a king. I don't think a king could actually fit. I mean, it is a pretty narrow tiny home. If I were gonna guess, probably pretty close to shipping container homes, but for a tiny space, the fact that you don't have to like crawl up into a creaky little loft and like crawl into your bed is such a huge plus, because that's typically the way it is with tiny homes. Like this one that I stayed at many years ago, kind of a small bed, you're gonna hit your head on the ceiling, or something like this is on the ground level. And again, it's super easy to put away. Check this out. Table goes back into place, you lock everything, good to go. Couple of other little awesome features here that I noticed. Right up here, you'll see kind of these sliding panels right here. So this is actually controls like their shade system, which is electronic. I'll show you how that works. But basically, when you don't want to get the light here from sort of this sunroof, you can push this over. Okay, it's gonna block out all of the sun right here. And now this shade will come down with the touch of a button. It's very cool, watch. So that one's down. Okay, so I think it's, voila. And now, you get complete privacy. It's a really nice touch. And speaking of touch, this touch screen right here, this is a smart touch screen. It controls a lot of the aspects of this particular space. It controls things like your climate here, your shades, your ventilation. Maybe I should have done this. Oh, and your door. It also closes your door. Nice. Look at that. There's still little things that we're uncovering as we tour the house. We're about to go into the bathroom, which is honestly impressively large, if you ask me, for a 120 square foot tiny house. But before we do, of course, more storage here. Check this out.
Hi, how's it going? I'm your host for today. Don't forget to rake the leaves on your way out.
And of course, more storage. A disappointing amount of nerds clusters in here. Storage and more storage. What I find interesting about this place is that it is a functioning Airbnb. They have so much storage in this tiny house that they don't actually have a use for some of the other storage in here. So for an Airbnb, you're probably not gonna fill up every single nook and cranny. If you were living here as your primary residence and doing the whole living tiny movement, I could definitely see you filling up every single drawer that's in this house. But the moral of the story is there's so much storage in this place, you're gonna be good to go. All right, pretty interesting little door here. I would have social anxiety if I'm being honest. You know, I like to have, like, I'm a loud person in the bathroom. You know what I mean? So if I was having a romantic little getaway with like my girlfriend, my wife now, bless her heart, she has no choice, but like a girlfriend, it'd be like, hey, why don't you go run and grab us some bagels up the street? I gotta catch up on some work, because this, you know, this would be a little tough, but maybe it's super soundproof. So I'm gonna close this, I'm gonna yell and you tell me, all right? Oh my God! Could you hear that?
Did you say something?
Wow, okay, well, never mind then. All right, it's a little tight in here, and as much as I want Caleb in here, we're gonna roll solo in here. So very large bathroom, as you can tell. I mean, it's not the world's largest bathroom, but again, for a tiny house, I mean, we're talking probably 20% of the square footage of the house is in this little tiny house right here. And what I really like about it is it's a naval bathroom, meaning the toilet, the shower, the sink, it's all in the same area right here. You take a shower, it's like a rain shower head. It goes into the ground right here. Everything can get wet. It's no big deal whatsoever. Definitely all you need. This sink is a little bit small, right? For me, I do like having a nice size sink and vanity. However, we're in a tiny house, so you gotta make some sacrifices. And you know what? For an Airbnb, it's 100% fine. Like, I can live with some of these smaller things for a short amount of time. If you're gonna live here, just keep into account that you're not gonna have the world's largest anything, because newsflash, it's a tiny home. Honestly, it's great. You can use the restroom, wash your hands at the same time, or if you had food poisoning, you could actually use the restroom, vomit in here. All right. Next, let's go. That's gonna conclude the tour of the micro house. And if you like the micro house, then you are gonna love the tiny house over there. So let's go take a tour of that too. Hey, by the way, you know what kind of tree this is? It's a redwood. You know how I know? By the way that it is.
How neat is that?
This thing, I mean, that one, the micro is cool, but this is called the M1 house, and it is absolutely stunning as you walk up to it. A couple of notable features: the sun right there, so that's always nice. Lots of windows, and the actual roof line is lined in solar panels. This entire thing is a very sustainable tiny home, and it is powered by the solar panels and the batteries in this property. It's a very sustainable home. Let's go inside and check it out. I think you're gonna like it. A couple little features I love about this M1 house right out the gate, a little different, is the door. It's like super thick. This thing is incredibly well insulated because then there's another door right here. Between both of these, I'm telling you, you're basically inside a very, very insulated house. And the moment you step in, it is a completely different feeling than the micro. And it's so spacious. I could tell you about it, but I prefer to show you. And now we're inside of the M1 model within the house lineup. And as you can see, it feels relatively spacious in here. If you can believe it, this is a 400 square foot home, which to me, I still consider a tiny house. I consider anything from 1 to 500 square feet a tiny house. Once you get to that 500 to 1,000 square foot home, I consider that a small home, but this is absolutely tiny living. Honestly, in my opinion, at its finest, from an amenity standpoint, this thing has everything. Let's head over to the kitchen here, which is, you know, it's a relatively short walk. It's really more of a pivot for Caleb and I. But this is really all you're gonna need inside of a tiny home. As you can see here, there's just so much crammed into a small space. And when I say crammed in, I really do mean ergonomically. They know the importance of coffee. This is a whole coffee maker right here, which is absolutely crazy. Then there's a really fancy microwave. Look at this thing. It's like the microwave of my dreams. And they even have a dishwasher, which honestly, I would typically skimp on a dishwasher in a tiny home. But I will say, owning a tiny home in Joshua Tree, California, I don't have a dishwasher in it. People do ask about it every so often. I do kind of wish that I had integrated a dishwasher in my tiny home. So this right here is a really nice touch. And then you're gonna see here, it's not a full-size fridge, but it's pretty close. Check it out. All right, well, maybe don't judge the drinks, all right? We got the healthiest lineup here. We've got Red Bull Zero, Coke Zero, Gatorade Zero, and then one water that hasn't been touched. But they've got a full-on fridge here and freezer, which I honestly think is really, really nice. It's obviously on the smaller size, compact, but it's a 400 square foot tiny home. So honestly, like, how much more do you need? So when it comes to tiny houses, obviously storage is super important. I showed you all the storage over there. Obviously this one's gonna match up to that. So let me show you a couple things. You push this here, you push this here. You don't push that. You pull it? You pull this here. And you get all the storage you need. What, these are so fancy. Are these like little espressos for this? I kind of like these mugs. I'm vibing with it, honestly. All right, anyways. What was I saying? Oh, that's right. Lots of storage. Really all you're gonna need on this front. But they also have all these little cubbies right here, mostly remote space in this instance. And then we get into cutting board land right here. Am I dumb? I feel like I opened this earlier. What you doing? What you doing? You got a cutting board, and it's a perpetual cutting board. It means it never goes away. It's a little, it's... I said that. Did you know that the whole time? Why you gotta do that to me in front of my people? They got a beautiful cutting board here, and then if you just lift this little guy right here, it just closes. I'm like and subscribe. So before we finish up the tour, let's take a seat really fast, talk about some of the mechanics of this house, because it is bigger and thus the price point of something like this is gonna be a little bit more expensive as well. Remember the micro house behind me, 120 square feet. The starting price of that property is $35,000, I believe, and the specific unit was $90,000. Because this is 400 square feet, this one is a lot more luxury. There's a lot more bells and whistles and customizations on this one, so it is more expensive, but the base price of these is $199,000. And then I think that this specific unit with all of the customizations it has, it's coming in right at $360,000 or so. So quite a bit more. We'll break this down a little bit more at the end of the video, but let's finish up the tour for now. So a couple of notable things about this living area, very spacious, right? Arm to arm here. Perfect opportunity to bring back an old favorite. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. But there is technology pretty much intertwined within this entire place. We've got a Sonos soundbar right here, and it looks a little bit random, but this right here actually becomes a projector that comes down. So that's pretty cool. We have, again, a mini split here. That's not like the most technologically advanced thing, but I just wanted to show you. The design here is really quite clever because that's definitely gonna completely cool down a 400 square foot space. And then this right here is a couch setup. And remember when I said earlier, most of the furniture in here is exclusive and is proprietary to the house itself. So this couch, the fabric, everything was designed for this specific space. And this is kind of like a pull-out sofa futon that actually lays flat, and this can turn into a bed right here. Move back here, lots of storage here. One of the things you're gonna check off on your Airbnb listing is if you have a work-friendly space. That's exactly what you have right here. This is all just really nice premium wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is.
What is that, chestnut?
No, I think that is either pine or Nordic cherry.
This is really just kind of like a homey vibe here. You got all of your magazine storage, really nice design touch. A lot of the different details here are super nice. If you look over there, we've got like really nice brick veneer. And this isn't cheap stuff. This isn't like a peel and stick paper. This is like genuine brick. It's honestly very, very impressive. And then just final little thing here. I mean, obviously we've talked about storage, but I mean, you could probably assume when you see these kind of square inserts right here, that's the projector right there. This is all storage. And then you got this little smart pad right here that actually controls all of the technology in the home. So if you want to turn on all the different lights, everything like that, we can turn off the living room lights, the kitchen lights, check that out. Isn't that fancy? Honestly, I think the impressive part is how instantaneous it is. Typically with that stuff, there's a little bit of a lag, but not with this. I'm gonna show you the bedroom really fast and then I'll give you a quick tour of the bathroom. Bathroom is wild. I'm just gonna say that. But the bedroom is pretty cool too, so come on in. How'd you get here so fast? I literally just walked out the room. All right, so this is the bedroom right here. Bunk bed situation, all incredibly sturdy. By far, I'm moving here, the sturdiest bunk bed I've ever seen in my life. All bunk beds in general are trash. This is like a perfectly engineered, solid bunk bed. So I was actually pretty impressed here. I slept here last night, typical mattress. Again, not a king size mattress or anything like that, but honestly pretty good. I think this is a queen size mattress and then this is probably like a full size mattress. Why am I winded? Laying down takes the wind out. Maybe I'm drinking too much Red Bull Zero. Little table right here. This was actually really nice last night, having this so close to me. This is just the greatest touch ever. USB charger, but now with the advent of the USB-C, you never see this, USB-C chargers. I had this chilling right here next to me. I woke up, grabbed my phone. A really nice design. I don't think, personally, there's this kind of philosophy that I started buying into a couple of years ago, and it's that you don't need a massive bedroom. And I think too many people put too much stock into their bedrooms. Like, you're never really in there, except for whenever you're sleeping. I'm already kind of that mindset to begin with, but when you kind of go into a tiny house like this, as I mentioned, most of the time you're kind of crawling up a ladder to go sleep on a really tiny, like thin mattress. This is as full size of a room as you can get in a tiny house. You have all of these windows right here. Check out this view. Absolutely beautiful. By the way, this video is brought to you by the Nissan Kicks. The coolest car of all time. But this is a really nice, beautiful view. I can't even imagine. It would be so cool to just be sitting here drinking coffee. But if you want a little bit of that privacy, that is something that you can have because they have these really cool blinds right here. Check this out. And then all of a sudden, you can do whatever you want in here and no one will ever know. Okay. Completely private. Like now, obviously this is a diffuser for all of the light. So depending on if you're a morning person or not, this is gonna help really quite a bit. Of course, storage, important. I don't know how many times I'm gonna say this, but I think this is always the main concern with tiny homes is there enough space? This is all of our stuff that we came. So for a weekend traveler that's using this property for an Airbnb, so long as you're not bringing like 80 bags, it's gonna be totally fine. And this particular blueprint can sleep 4 to 5 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's gonna be tight with 5 people. Let me just say that, like it's not gonna be the most spacious experience, but for the weekend traveler that's just coming in, they need a place to stay. There's a lot of outdoor space. That's one of the things that I really like about this particular setup that most tiny house people and tiny house builders on Airbnb leave out, and it's a tiny space, right? So if you're in here with 5 people, it's gonna get sweaty, muggy, smelly. You're gonna be hitting elbows, you're gonna be frustrated. And most people neglect to just give people something to do outside. And if you kind of just look out here, there's like a massive deck. So you can hang out here, have a good time, 2 people, 3 people outside, 2 people in here, and it's really not all that crammed. And honestly, most people can just hang out in the bathroom. Check this out. Oh, all right. Get these lights on. All right, check this out. This bathroom is absolutely massive. Let me just take you through the journey here real fast. You walk in, there's a very nice wall. It's almost like a hallway. You've got the shower. I took a shower in here this morning. Absolutely amazing. Huge, great water pressure. This is a standard 3x3 shower. You've got a combination washer dryer in here. You got a toilet here, full size. And when you sit on said toilet, you've got so much space. And let me tell you, as someone who has stayed at plenty of tiny homes in my time, having a full-size toilet setup is a luxury. That is not something that is common in all tiny houses. So this right here, perfectly spacious. Like, I have plenty of space between both of my arms. Check that out. I know it doesn't really look like it. Caleb, come in here. Show it. Like, come in here. Hold this for me. Look at that. Look at that. Lots of space. I mean, come on. Space galore here. Look at all this. Like, they really, I would almost say, and I don't say this in a bad way, it's gonna sound like that, but I would almost say they went overboard with how much storage space they put in this. And that's what makes this a fully functional home. Like, it is a tiny house, but really, like, it doesn't feel all that tiny. And you know, for people that might live in smaller areas like New York, San Francisco, this would be a multi-million-dollar place to live in any of those cities. So the fact that this is so spacious and just perfectly engineered is nice. I wanted to end today's video with a quick analysis of the different use cases for each unit, particularly in the world of Airbnb, since of course that's what we do here. Which, if you don't know that, don't forget to like and subscribe so you get more of that content. Ding! Here are my thoughts after touring them, sleeping in them, all that good stuff. I think the micro house is actually an amazing way to break into the Airbnb space for a lot of different reasons. The starting price of that is $35,000, which I think from a price point standpoint makes a lot of sense, because that's like the cost of a car. Instead of buying a car, you can go and buy a micro house. You can, in theory, probably buy it with a credit card. I'm not saying do that, but it is such a low price at $35,000 that I could see someone actually saving that amount of money and buying it. Now, of course, the one that we looked at was totally souped up and tricked out at $90,000, which starts to make a little less sense if you're budget friendly, but I think at $35K, it does make it accessible to most people. Cool thing is it's 120 square feet, so that might help you circumvent some of the permitting aspects of it. You can also just crane it in your backyard if you want to use it as an office. Makes total sense. Now we get to the M1, and this is a little bit tougher because it is a far more luxurious experience. They start at $199,000, and the one that we toured, which was like the grandiose version of it, was about $360,000. I'd say for what it is and what you get, it's definitely worth that price, but I think for very specific scenarios. Probably not for an Airbnb, because I think at $199,000 to $360,000, you're talking about the price of like an actual home, and I think that there might be other options more available to you at that price point, specifically because you can actually go and finance those types of properties much simpler than going and finding financing for something like this. I think the use case for the M1 is going to be more if you have a giant piece of land and you're building a house on it and you want to live on that land while the house is being constructed. You might crane something like the M1 there so you can live there during the build process, or if you just really want the novelty of a supremely luxurious prefab tiny home, then I suppose you can do it too. But if it were me and I was looking to buy one of these myself, definitely the micro. As a matter of fact, I am talking to them right now about a property that I'm trying to lock up at this moment where I might need 10 of the micros, because I'm actually really curious about that model, and they can pump them out super fast. So that's my take. If you want something that's easier to get around the permitting because of the size, something that's a little bit more affordable, then the micro is the clear winner out of the two for me. Now, if you like the tiny home and prefab thing, then you're gonna wanna definitely check out this video right here, because let me tell you, I got loads of that type of content. So go click after you like and subscribe, but click.